Greetings to everyone that is present here. I am Modu Lewis. I'm a third year computer science and engineering student studying in Maharashtra at Shivaji University. So I'll be your host today, and we have Madam Jammeh as my co-host. Madam Jammeh, you are welcome.
What? Louis, did you just call me Madam Jammeh? Okay. Good evening, everyone. And in Gambia, good day. My name is Fatma Fati, a final year student studying business administration, specializing in human resource management. Currently studying at Punjab, Ludhiana. So I will be your co-host today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You are welcome. Okay, as the tradition of Gam-Ind, before we start, I guess we'll have the opening prayers. We can take 1 minute and pray in each our individual ways. Amen. Okay, so Miss Fati, what do we have in the agenda? Miss Fati, am I audible? Miss Fati?
Yes, you are.
Okay, what do we have in the agenda?
Okay, going by the agenda today, we have the opening remarks by the President. Mr. Mbo, you are welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Lewis and Madam Fati. Greetings, everyone. Greetings to our able guest speaker, Mr. Jammeh. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, that is Mr. Jammeh, for graciously sacrificing part of his valuable time to inspire us. Thank you, sir, for your time and thoughtful consideration. I would also like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome you all to another session of the Gam-In online webinar. Yeah. These sessions are specifically designed, to invite experts to discuss topics that are crucial to our individual and collective growth. In today's webinar focuses on a significant topic that is mastering skills, opportunities, strategies, for employment in the Gambia. I am confident that our guest speaker is exceptionally suited to address, this subject matter. By the end of the session, we will have gained valuable insights into the job market, available opportunities, and effective ways to contribute to our homeland in meaningful ways. Since I believe that many of us are planning to go back home and serve as I believe that we all go out to learn in order to serve our country better. So I'm with the hope that many of us are planning to go back home. So it is good to know like which means you can serve, you can give back to your country. It can be either self-employment or either you work with the government or whatsoever means. But it is good to go back and serve, and I'm confident that we are all ready to do that. So on that note, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to my entire executive team for the job well done, and most specifically the academic department, who are the ones at the head, when it comes to webinars issue. So for their relentless efforts, in making this session possible. Thank you all for joining us, and I wish you all a fruitful and enlightening session. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President, for those wonderful insights. Okay, before we proceed, I will just give the structure of the agenda. First, it was supposed to be the opening remarks by the President, which we already did. Then, the reading of the biography of our guest speaker. Then, presentation by our speaker. Then, question and answer session. Then, we'll close by the closing remarks from the Vice President. So, next on the agenda, Mrs. Fati, who is our guest today?
Uh, to get into the insightful discussion today, our guest today is our visionary leader from humble beginnings to national impact. Born in the southern village of Jambanjeli in 1972, Mr. Jammeh embarked on a remarkable journey that would shape his career and ultimately the economic landscape of the Gambia. His early education at Jambanjeli Primary School and Armitage High School laid the foundation for his academic pursuit. Driven by intellectual curiosity, Mr. Jammeh furthered his studies at the highest teachers college and the University of the Gambia, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in economics and mathematics. This solid academic background would prove invaluable in his future endeavors. Mr. Jammeh's career began with a stint as an assistant teacher, where he imparted knowledge and inspired young minds, like what he is about to do today. However, his true passion lay in the realm of economics and policy. He joined the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration, and Employment, quickly establishing himself as a talented economist and a strategist. Rising through the ranks, Mr. Jammeh held key positions such as Deputy Director of Industry and Investment. His astute analysis and innovative thinking were instrumental in shaping industrial policies and attracting foreign investors. Recognizing his exceptional abilities, the Gambia government appointed him as Director of Policy Analyst and the Office of the President. In the Office of the President. In this role, he played a pivotal part in formulating national development strategies. Returning to the Ministry of Trade, Mr. Jammeh continued to make significant contributions as Director of Trade and Director of Industry and Investment. His unwavering commitment to economic growth and social development has left an enduring legacy. Currently serving as a Director of Employment, Mr. Jammeh remains dedicated to addressing the challenges of unemployment across the country and creating opportunities for the Gambian workforce. His visionary leadership and unwavering dedication have made him a respectable figure in the field of economics and public policy. Thank
Thank you very much, Miss Fati, for that wonderful presentation. But if you ask me, I will say Mr. Jammeh, he is a man of experience, a man of expertise, a man of many degrees and character, an educationist, and a role model. Honorable Jammeh, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. And then it's a pleasure to be part of this forum. Like you said, just to share my experience, my expertise for young people like you. Today is a remarkable day for me, having to honor me as the guest speaker for this forum. And I hope and pray that I'll be able to do my best to ensure that I pass whatever experience to you young people in a bid to see your transition from academic to into the labor market. My role is very simple, and then I want to make myself very simple and straightforward to ensure that I provide you with details in terms of employment, details as to how to enter into the labor market, and how you stay your course to benefit from the opportunities or to offer your opportunities as well to build this beautiful nation we call the Gambia. Many people have taken this kind of positions, and today I'm glad I'm also taking such a position. And I hope at some other day, each one of you can occupy a similar position where you become a trusted person, a dependable person, a person of resource to ensure that we build institutions, we build societies to ensure that we have the sustainable growth of our economy. Like she mentioned, I have a vast experience, to be quite frank, and then I'm ready to share this with you all. Now, coming to the point of the discussion, that is to say, uh, looking at mastering skill in relation to employment and other opportunities in the labor market is quite critical. Today, we have a new employment policy. We call it as the National Employment Policy and Action Plan 2022 to 2026. And then the objective of the policy is to ensure that we look at the high unemployment, underemployment, the high level of poverty in the country, how we can reverse this to the advantage of society. The policy also has a target to create or facilitate the creation of 150,000 jobs within the 5 year lifespan. That is to say, from 2022 to 2026. So you look at this, we are not necessarily people who provide employment in the hands of young people. What we do is we create the necessary environment to ensure that employment creation opportunities are available, because employment is cross-cutting, and therefore it requires all of us, even as students, we all have an input to make that environment very facilitating for employment creation. I have made this statement at a point when His Excellency the President came to launch this very important policy. For the first time in my professional career, all the policies that I have dealt with never been launched by a president. But for this one, we are opportune to have the president to to launch the document. And then really it was an exciting moment. And then the attendance was maximum. And then the statements were just brilliant. And then the promises that we made to say that we are going to create 150,000 jobs. For some, it was something they feel it's undoable. For some, they still believe that yes, we have structures and in existence operations, and there are entities that provide pathways. Then I believe if we put our hands together, we should be able to provide the 150,000 jobs. Now, 150,000 jobs. How do we know? When is the very first job created? And as I'm speaking, what is the number of jobs created? And we hope by 2026, what will be the maximum number of job creation in the economy? What we did to that, we said, okay, it's important that we establish what we call the labor market and migration information system. This is the system that is going to help us to do the counting. But it's a system. You have people who are supposed to feed the system to be able to provide this number of jobs being created. Unfortunately, we are still struggling to finalize it. But in fact, by next week, we're supposed to do the final touch on this system. And then we will be able to launch it and then popularize it to ensure that workers, employers, administrators, whosoever has a stake in it, can have an input into this system, just so that at least we be able to do the counting. And then we hope if we have the collaboration of all and sundry, we'll be able to make way, and then we'll be able to report, and then be able to use it for policy planning and then decision making. So that is one aspect that we have done. Another aspect that came to our mind is the national employment policy, as the name states, is a national policy. It's not just a policy for Greater Banjul. So what do we mean by this? How do we ensure the last point in Koina, the last point in Katong, all know that there is a system, all know that employment is something that is natural, and then all of us will have a take, whether informal or formal, we should be engaged in a productive or economic venture that ensure livelihood. So what we did is to look at the every region to have what we call job centers. These job centers, they are a center where young people, particularly job seekers, will walk in to get information about the labor market. And what are these kind of information? The employment information, and then vacancy information, and then to see that how they can relate to these opportunities. That is to say, how do you apply to get a job? What other measures do you have to get to ensure that you get access to this opportunity? So the center also provides guidance and counseling. They guide you based on what you have in terms of skill, in terms of academic. So the centers are there to provide this kind of services and other related services. That one also, already we have two in existence, one in Kanifing, where we have the Department of Labor. We also have one in the URR. So we are working with IOM to introduce or to establish similar facilities across other regions. And then right now we have three regions in mind to support, and already we have identified spaces, and then we have doing some work in those spaces, and then the procurement of facility or equipment, materials and equipment are also on the way. And once that is completed, we'll try to resource these centers and provide the human resource that will be able to coordinate and facilitate activities in the center. So these regions include West Coast region, NBR, and LRR. And we hope the other region like CRR, that is not already on the plan, but we are going to see how we can also establish one to ensure that all the region at least have one center where young people can work in and then get information about the labor market. So these are strategies that we have put in place to ensure that at least we decentralize the opportunity, just so that at least we don't have to get people to travel all the way from Koina to Banjul to deposit an application or to inquire for a job. So besides also, today we are also working on what we call bilateral labor agreements. Bilateral labor agreement, what that means, we are engaging other countries, especially where most of our young people travel to, especially like in Europe and also in the Gulf states. Already we have engaged two countries or three countries in this bilateral labor agreement. What that means is you engage a country, you set a number of agreements to protect your people or protect their people going and coming, and to ensure that they embark on labor. So already we have a labor agreement with Dubai. We have not started working with them to supply the labor actually, but we also have a labor agreement with Saudi. We have already done all the legal aspects in terms of signing, in terms of ratification, the bilateral labor agreement. And then today we are working on the recruitment of young Gambians to serve in the Saudi labor market. Then we also have that of Spain, and that is what is also on the table. Already we have signed a bilateral MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the Gambia and Spain, and then currently we are yet to start the actual recruitment. But there are all other processes on the way preparing the recruitment process. So already Gambians have been informed about this, and then we have guided them, and then we inform them about what they're supposed to have as documentation to be able to access this opportunity. And then we are hoping this will continue to engage other European countries such as Italy, Ghana, Germany rather, and then even in Germany, Poland, and all the European countries, to ensure that at least we create this environment to avoid irregular pathways. So in fact, we all know as Gambians what has happened over the years in terms of these irregular pathways. And then we have seen a lot of loss of life, and then we have seen people stranded in borderline. We have seen people put in asylum centers in Europe, and then this is something that we cannot look at and then let it be like that. No. So this is why we are even going into the bilateral labor agreement with countries, just so that at least we regularize the irregular pathways and give opportunities to young Gambians, but give an opportunity to those economies wherein they have shortage in terms of labor. So that's the argument here. So, but in bilateral labor agreement, there is a win-win situation on the on the three parties. That is the sending government or country, the receiving country, and the beneficiary, the worker. So each one of us will have a fair share of the deal. So this is also another strategy that we have deployed. Then back home, we have been engaging in advocating for skill development because skills are not necessarily under our mandate. So skills are under the Ministry of Higher Education. And then we advocate for skill development, for entrepreneurship to take its course, for people to appreciate and take the opportunity to develop their skills, to develop their entrepreneurship. So this is something that the Ministry of Higher Education is also doing, and then we work with them to do the policy on Tibet and to also do a roadmap from a particular point to another point. This is to ensure that at least once we embark on skills development, what is required is to ensure the skills centers, especially the training centers, are decentralized. Because all the time, most of the skill training centers, they are located in the Greater Banjul. But now we have seen people moving, or skill center owners moving across all the region to ensure that they provide these services or training centers for young people at the different regional settings. So that is one thing. Then the other thing now is entrepreneurship. We are working with the Ministry of Higher Education and also the Ministry of Basic Education to see how we can build in entrepreneurship in the mindset of young people. And then our proposal is to see it happen from the grade 4, to see the soft component of entrepreneurship is taught at the level of grade 4, going to grade 6, going to grade 7, and then up to grade 12. And then once you graduate from grade 12, of course, you can make a choice either to be self employed at that level, or even if you are going to pursue additional career in either a vocational training center or a university or a college or whatsoever, then they will continue to provide those entrepreneurship. So the skill centers, we also encourage them to build in entrepreneurship. All that we are doing in that respect is to ensure that once you graduate and then you feel you cannot move further, then already you have built that career choice in your career, and then it becomes one of the weapons to address the issue of unemployment. Then beside that also, we have what we call the formalization strategy. For the first time in the Gambia, we've never done a strategy around formalization. We last year have completed the formalization of the formalization strategy with the ministry, and then this has given us an opportunity to engage all the regions, especially women and young people, in the formulation, and then they all have a take in the strategy. So now we are looking forward in the implementation of the strategy, though there are issues related to resources, to ensure that at least we see how we can do or help young people to start to formalize. Because one of the studies that we have done on MSME mapping, we have understood almost 90% of the MSMEs that we have engaged in the study, they are informal. So that means these are people who are outside the trap where we can see or we can register or we can do a follow-up to understand how much of the enterprises are formal. Formal in the sense that they have a certification. Formal in the sense that they have a location. Formal in the sense that they can do their returns and then pay some taxes when they reach certain threshold of profit. So really formalization also help us to make that employment at the level of that informal sector. So we hope we'll be able to have a big turnaround in terms of formalization. Then we also have these centers, business registration centers. We've ensured that we decentralize all the regions. They have somewhere where you could go and then register a business. And to register a business, it should not take you beyond a day. It should not, at most, it should not take you 1 week, because all that we are trying to do is to bring people on the in the on the on the on the on the a system where we'll be able to tell, yes, this is the number of people or number of enterprises that exist in the Gambia. So that is the purpose of formalization. So the business registration connects to that formalization. They help you to register your business, and the cost to register a business is just $500. $500. And once you are registered and your part to formalization is supported by what we call the GAIPA, that is Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, which is located in Kairaba Avenue. They also are now having their centers all in all the regions, so that they can do the facilitation for young people or for young businesses to grow. So there are a lot of interventions that the ministry and its satellite agencies are doing to support employment creation. But we all know that in every sector, there is an employment creation. For example, the productive sectors like agriculture, they have a natural employment creation. Fisheries, they have a natural employment creation. You go to the forest, they also have a natural facilitation for employment creation. So even in all other sectors, people are thriving, and then there is employment creation. All the challenge now is, how do we coordinate to ensure that at least we have a present or we have a report that is coming to us in terms of every employment that is being created. So, like I mentioned earlier on, the labor market and migration information system, once we are able to establish and once we are able to popularize it, and then it's appreciated by workers, it's appreciated by employers, it's appreciated by institutions, we should be able to see how much employment creation is being done. So these are few things that we are doing, along many other things that is within or outside the ministry, that is being done to ensure that employment creation is done at that level. So we also have structures that we have to help the ministry in terms of the implementation of the policy. These structures include a cabinet subcommittee. We have a cabinet subcommittee that is responsible for employment management. So they discuss at that level employment opportunities, employment management, just so that at least it is a collective responsibility. At their level also, they can take that responsibility by ensuring that in their sectors, they ensure employment is an issue, and then it stands very firm with them, and then we work with them to ensure that at least we create that environment that is important for all of us. The second level, we also have what we call the National Employment Technical Committee. This is mostly dominated by private sector players. We have identified people who have vast knowledge in their professional career to come together to help the ministry, looking at the policy, looking at the strategies to ensure that they can help in crafting implementable programs that will at least give us employment creation or employment opportunity. And we also have what we call the labor migration thematic group. This is a group that comes from or derived from the national, what we call the NCM, National Coordination Mechanism. This is the highest level of migration issue. So we have thematic areas. So each there are 23 thematic areas. So each ministry, based on the definition of the thematic area, you can be associated to be a lead institution in that. So when it comes to labor migration, of course, this ministry, our ministry, is the lead. So this is why we are hosting the technical body, and then we are doing our part in the whole entity of the NCM, that is the National Coordination Mechanism, that is migration related activity. So we also have what we call the, the, the labor market and migration information system technical working group. We have identified certain sectors and then bring them as a group so that once we start the implementation of the system, then to get the statistics, the data, we'll need this technical working group from the various sectors to supply us with the data that is needed. And once we get the data, then we can see how we analyze the data and then provide recommendation to government. So we have that structure as well. So we also work with other groups, of course, and then we work with our partners like the GIZ. We work with the IOM. We work with the EU. We work with UNDP across. So we also have in the ministry some projects that enable the creation of jobs. We have a UNDP project that is there. It's been coordinated and by the ministry, but precisely the director of industry. So they provide entrepreneurship. They also look at formalization. They also support business creation, and then they do also provide technical support, material support to young people or to groups that request for this kind of support. We also have what we call the Sea Trade Hub. The Sea Trade was what was a project that was with the ministry, and then the more focus on women, and then in particular sectors. For example, the clothing, horticultural sector. So women who are participating in those identified sectors, they support them, giving them capacity, giving them material. So today the project has phased out, but now those that have received support, you put them together to create this hub. So they continue to work with the ministry. So a number of things are there. Of course, I can elaborate on every little and big things that we are doing, but mainly these are some of the things that we are doing at the level of the ministry with our partners and also with other stakeholders, that other ministries that bring us that environment that creates that employment opportunities for young people. So in a nutshell, we are even coming to conduct what we call the National Employment Employment Forum. The National Employment Forum is a forum that is there to provide an opportunity for all relevant stakeholders and partners so that at least we can come and then tell them the story of the implementation of the policy and then tell them where the challenges are, where we have some wins, and where we need support, particularly in terms of resources. So that forum is scheduled to take place on the 10th of December. And then, in fact, we are trying to get the president to come to grace that occasion, just so that at least to ensure that government takes employment as a serious business for young people, for women development. So we also have some other activities that I forgot to mention. For example, the job fair. We also do job fair. Job fair, what does that mean? We put together in a big open, we put employers, we put job seekers, and then we also bring in people who can provide services, that is, services related to counseling. We encourage young people to come, especially the school, those who are in the graduating class, either in the grade 12, in the university, in the college, in the trainings. We bring them together so they interact with employers, and then sometimes you can have on the spot employment opportunity. So we have conducted two, and then we are also conducting an additional one in December ending, and then we want to collapse it with the NACOM that the Ministry of Youth or the NYC conduct on a periodically. So we also have what we call we have not done that, but we just want to have it a try, using the television to conduct trade fairs. We do trade fairs as well, and then we also do what we call it, yeah. These are some of the activities that we embark on, and then these are promising an opportunity for young people and also for job employers to interact and then get what they want very quickly. So, in a nutshell, this is exactly what we do, and then we are open for people to come and give us advice and give us experiences to ensure that at least we are able to create a very good and sustainable environment for employment creation. I know the challenge is we have a narrow base industries that are not very absorptive in terms of employment creation. But we also have what we call the National Business Council. The National Business Council is to look at some of the issues where industries cry to have some of their challenging or perennial challenges been resolved. So this council sits regularly to look at what complaints are coming from industry players and then see what government could do to ensure that at least those problems or challenges are addressed. So I want to thank you for having me to share my experience with you. And then these are some of the few things that we are doing. And then we hope with additional resources we can do greater things than just what I have delivered here today. So it's a pleasure to have me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jammeh. Indeed, your experience and wisdom have been truly inspiring. I am honored. I know my colleagues are also honored to learn from you in the employment sector and then the importance of skills development in the Gambia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jamme. I will say that like a heavy stone has been lifted off my back because I've been thinking about employment after my graduation. So I've seen the commitment the government are putting to find jobs for their citizens. So I guess we also have a role to play, that is to learn and to give back to our own country. Mrs. Fati, what do we have next on the agenda?
Yeah, I guess now we have the question and answer session. Mr. Jammeh, I guess you are ready for our questions because I know people want to ask a lot of questions from you regarding the employment issue in the Gambia. So I guess you are ready.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Fati. Okay, moving forward, we are going to have the question and answer session. So we are going to, if anyone wants to raise a question, you will put your hand up, and then we will deliver you will deliver your question to Honorable Jamme. But before you guys begin, Mr. Jamme, can
Yes.
you mentioned about skills? I guess
Yes.
as much as it is important to have an educational educational background or educational knowledge, I guess skill is also an important thing. Can you please share with us like some of the key skills you believe that we need for the success of job market in the job market in the Gambia?
Okay. I think, in fact, I missed to mention this. We are working with a project at the Ministry of Digital Economy. We call it the WADED project. We want to develop a program on digital skills. Digital skills today is the way to go. We know that the labor market is dynamic in nature, and then IT or technology provide that dynamism in the labor market. And then every now and then there are changes that are happening, and people have to respond to those changes. So I wouldn't specifically say these skills that you would need, but IT has a very large horizon. So you have a choice to make what kind of IT skill do you need or digital skills do you need so that at least you should be able to fit in to the labor market and then be able to contribute whatever skill acquisition that you have. So I want to encourage you as students today to look at it differently from 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, that the labor market is so dynamic in nature. And then for you to fit into the labor market, you will need to have digital skills. AI is now also coming into force. So all of these things are new opportunities. And once you are a student, these are the kind of opportunities you built in yourself. Once you get into the labor market, then you can be absorbed as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. I guess we all hear what you said. Okay, so can we have Pa CD Jammeh, please? Pa CD, you are welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jembe Jilanka. I salute you. Thank you so much for that wonderful deliberation. I have a question in regarding students who you know that they studied in the Gambia, they did their they did their college and then transferred to the University of the Gambia, and then happen to have their BSc and then travel abroad to do their masters or PhD. So
Mhm.
what opportunity lies there for them? Because from rumors and then for countless years we've heard that people that travel abroad, if you want to come back to the Gambia to look for an opportunity, it becomes difficult because it's a rumor though. Like people will term you to be there is that competition for you to be able to fit in. They don't institutions don't prefer you to come and then join them because they are afraid of competition. So this is a rumor that is being circulating around, and then it is making a lot of international students who are across the entire world to go back to the Gambia. So what mechanism is put in place to be for the government to be able to address that? Because if that is not addressed, Gambia is going to lose a lot of resources, more especially in regards to human resources. That's the question I want to ask.
Yes, these are notions. These are barely notions that people have in their head. Because I cannot understand if you are an establishment, that is, for example, you are an industry, a company, an enterprise, and then you want to believe in this kind of notion. Today, the global market is very competitive. And for you to stay in the global market, you have to be very competitive. So, competitive could be in two forms. One is the human resources that needs to be competitive, and two is the material resources, the gadgets that we use. They have to be competitive. So, this is why, in fact, I have said there is a lot of dynamism. The labor market is so dynamic. When we say they are dynamic, people are searching for skills, people are searching for academic. And then there is also on the other part, IT, technology. People are developing technology every now and then. So for me, we all have equal opportunity, if not more, as somebody who is outside. Usually there is this fear, okay, when they come, they will take our jobs and then we. So what do we do? The point is, if I am an employer, I will take or I will recruit the best, the best who has the academics or the best who has the skills. So I think that we are past that stage. Even if people want to insist on it, your global market supply chain will not allow you to stay in that kind of orientation. So for me, like the first advice I give, you are currently a student. Look at what is the global market. How does it look like? I know Gambia cannot influence the global market, but if you want to work in the Gambia, of course, you have to understand the labor market conditions here. What are the kind of skills? What are the kind of industries do we have here? So you build yourself to that, and then have an edge, have an edge over the existing labor force. And then once you come, of course, there are companies, there are entrepreneurs, enterprises that want to work with people with extra capacity. So build your capacity, come and deliver on those capacities. If you choose to stay out, of course, do your work there, your remittances will come home. So for me, I don't want to believe in those kind of orientation. I believe in a competition, in a competitive market, and then a supply chain to ensure that at least you sustain as an employer, you sustain as an enterprise, and workers also, you make them to change, give them capacity on a periodical basis so that at least they can match with the dynamism in the labor market.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh, for that wonderful insight. Next, we have Mr. Abdullah Njai. Mr. Abdullah Njai, you are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, and thank you to our honorable guest. As he was deliberating, I was like counting the list of activities that the government has interfered. It was definitely enormous. Thank you very much, your office, for doing those wonderful job. Now, my question is about the bilateral that you guys signed with most of these European and Middle East countries. We have realized that recently they have been coming towards Gambia, and bilateral have been signed, I believe, but we might not be fortunate to get access to know what actually was signed. But we have seen in recent years many activists or many people would accuse this Middle East, especially that the unfairly treatment they have done to some of our Gambian fellows, and it has been circulating over social media for so long. So I wanted to ask if there were security measures that were put into consideration to protect our definitely sisters, most especially vulnerable ones that are traveling to this country in sign of greater pasture, because I believe most of them don't have any idea about where they're going and what they face there. So were there any of these things captured or considered during the bilateral or during the signing of those MOUs? Thank you.
Yes, of course. We all have the bad history of the Gulf state. Either you are a victim, or a friend, or a relative, or a neighbor is a victim. But now we have to intervene as a country. We may not have the power to make things change automatically in those Gulf states, but politically we can have that engagement with those countries. And then we can also add legislative measures to ensure that we change the game. What I want to say here is in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, most of these Gulf countries, we've seen the abuse they have put it on, especially on black people. But now, if we are ready to change, we have to change using our tools. And one of the tools is the legislation. And then the reason why we signed BLA is to ensure that we protect our people that are going to go into those countries. And then we have ensured that these agreements are rich enough to provide that protection, to work against that abuse, that maltreatment, their unfair treatment at work. We've looked at every possible way to ensure that we eliminate all those things. You know, initially people travel under their own accord, under their own accord. People make arrangements with employers in this country under their own accord. And of course, this you might expect. This is something we will expect. They can abuse you. You can work at the end of the month, they will not pay you. So, but now, if government to government, we sit and then develop a bilateral labor agreement, we eliminate those kind of occurrence. So it's not only the bilateral labor agreement that is what we are trying to hook on, but even the employer in that country and the worker from the Gambia, they also have to sign a contract, employment contract. So at the national level, if you abuse, if any of the country abuse, of course, we can take appropriate measures. And when it comes to the worst, I don't pray for that to come. We go to the international court because already we have referenced our agreement to our national documents, legislation, but also to international conventions like the ILO. So at the level of the worker and employer, we have also seen that they also go into contract so that if there is an abuse on an employer to the worker, of course, we can take those legal measures. So we have looked at what is in the employment contract. We have looked at what is in the labor agreement. And this is why it's not only the signing, we take it to the National Assembly for ratification. We take it there for the ratification. So once we ratify, it becomes binding on those two countries. So for me, today, we have addressed many of these. I'm not guaranteeing that nothing will happen, but in the event something happens, this is where we can take leverage, the agreement or the employment contract. And then we also have our embassies that are providing supervision, monitoring. So I am convinced that we can have a fair deal on this, unless otherwise. But even otherwise, we have measures to take to address this kind of issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. I believe that the answer is very clear to all of us. Next, we have Mr. Ibrahim Ambo. Mr. Ibrahim Ambo, you are welcome.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mr. Lewis, and thank you so very much, Mr. Jame, for the deliberation and everything. Definitely, we are indeed grateful. So for me, my question will be about like the institution responsible for employment in the Gambia. Because some time back, I have a conversation with someone. What he told me was, look, when I arrived here, I went to this particular ministry to apply for a job, but they keep my application after like more than 2 months. That time she went back there to inquire, and they give her the application back and tell her that this is where you're supposed to go. So for us here now, if you come back to the Gambia and want to work, where should we apply or which procedures should we follow? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, when we say sustainable development, these are some of the things you address. And then we have seen the PSC is responsible for government recruitment. And in the days when we used to go and apply, and until recently, 2, 3 years ago, there's it's just that kind of scheme that is used. You go and pick a form and then you fill and then you drop there. And sometimes it's difficult to know whether you are absorbed or not. Sometimes you are lucky, okay, they can call you and then tell you. But where you are not lucky, nobody tells you, and then it will be there for ages. And then you keep wondering what is wrong with these people. But now there are changes at the level of the PS. They have tried to use technology. They have a website. You go to that website, you search for a possible vacancy in all the ministries, and then you can choose which of the ministries vacancy you want to respond to. And then the forms are already in the website. You just download and then fill, and then you upload back. I'm not sure whether you download even. You go to the form and then you just fill, and then you attach your documentation. And then now that is what they are doing. So now that is what they are doing. Those who manage this system have that capacity to be able to access this on a daily basis and then be able to respond to some of the questions that are asked or to some of the challenges the system can bring up. Because I remember even me as a director of employment, we have submitted our request to get certain position be advertised, and then so that we can recruit. But it took several, I think, 1 year plus. So, but these are some of the challenges. But PSC today, they are trying to work hard to ensure that at least they mitigate some of these challenges. So, but now there is an online system. You don't need to go paper. You don't have to go physical. Go to the website PSCW, www.psc.gm, something like that. They have their domain address. So now that is the new way. And this is why it's important that we develop our digital skills to ensure that this kind of opportunities we can be able to take them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. Next we have Mr. Sajo Jajo. Sajo, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for letting me in. And I would like to say thank you so very much to Mr. Fabba Jammeh for actually honoring our invitation. So, actually, the topic of discussion is mastering skills, opportunities, and strategies for employment in the Gambia. So, as it stands, we would obviously acknowledge the progress made in the TVET sector at some point. But then, like, one thing that I want to ask, as far as these TVET sectors are concerned, they're usually focused in areas such as these basic nautical sciences, marine engineering, and even at some point, electrical and electronic engineering. However, like for those of us that are studying other areas here, like aeronautical engineering, or would we say aeronautics, computer engineering, and at some point, would I say civil engineering, what plans are in place for us? That's the first one. And the other aspect of it is that it is kind of disheartening to see like large number of our infrastructure being done by or being carried by non-Gambians at some point. So what strategies do you think can be implemented to ensure that we as Gambians that are studying in these said areas contribute significantly to these critical areas and make a difference? Yeah, that is my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the question. And then, in fact, I have mentioned the National Employment Pool that is scheduled for the 10th. And then we even wanted the Minister of Finance through the Department of Public-Private Partnership to present a paper because they are responsible for government program projects. So now our argument at the ministry is to see that every government project, be it a road construction, be it a house or building construction, whatsoever projects, we want that to carry the human face of Gambians. What I mean by human face of Gambians is employing Gambians to partake along the implementation of those projects. For example, the bridge in LRR, the bridge the OIC center currently that is built, and also the roads that have been under construction, they have taken huge amounts of money. But we want localization where the material can be sourced in the Gambia. Where the human can be sourced from the Gambia, we employ that. If the monies are owned by government, we should ensure that those who are going to take this project or win this project, they go with this condition to say, we have to localize certain levels. It's very much important. And this is to ensure that those of you who are learning these skills, those who are doing this kind of profession, can have space. So it is important to see yourself as somebody who could potentially work in this kind of project. I know there are projects where Gambians are doing well. And once they do well, they can consider establishing their own. But also to add to this, we are also working on local content bill for now, What this local content means, every investment or every project that comes to this country, we ensure what can be afforded by in the country, we offer that. That is could be human resources, it could be material resources. So that's what the local content bill is looking at. So slowly we are moving, but surely once we have the grounds very firm on our feet, we'll be able to say this is what we want, and then it happens. So I hope once all these processes are done, then we'll see new opportunities for young Gambians. But we also want how you can also partner with potential investors, those that have skill areas that you have learned, to bring them home, and then you start developing your own project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. I believe, Sajo, you got the answer right. We also have space in the Gambia. The portal is mentioned in the comment section, which is www.pscgov.gm. So everyone should try and visit it. Okay, next we have Mr. Momodu Fati. Mr. Momodu Fati, you are welcome.
Thank you, Lewis. Good evening or good afternoon, Mr. Jammeh. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. And yes, the Ministry of Trade is one of the key or vital ministries in the country, and yeah, are responsible for employment, trade, and integration. So I think the only thing that I would have to do is to एक minute भाई. It's not a question per se, but is to still, because already the Ministry of Trade is doing tremendous job. I have worked with the Ministry of Trade with Baji. I've worked with Baji Omar Baji in implementing some of your projects, especially ones that you train some of these young entrepreneurs on record keeping and taxation, and the other UNDP partnership project with the Association of Business Coaches, the Gambia. So, but I would want to implore the ministry to focus more on policies that will empower some of the Gambian young people that wants to explore or tap into certain business areas. If you look at certain business areas, it's very difficult for a Gambian to start those businesses, especially if you are not liquid, if you're not financially strong. It's very difficult to venture into some of those businesses. Like you want to import certain products, outside the Gambia, it's very difficult. There was a time there is this particular product that someone wanted to do business to import from India specifically, but there's this importer or this manufacturer who says that he is only going to supply to one Indian who is also in the Gambia, doing business in the Gambia. So it means they will not supply to any other Gambian citizen that wants to do the same business. So they are more of supporting their own countrymates in the Gambia. And if a Gambian wants to start that business, you cannot start that business. So I believe there should be policies from the government of the Gambia that will empower the citizens, and that cut across to some employment positions in the country. For example, you go to the banks, you see some of these top positions are foreigners, Nigerians holding those key positions. You go to Coco Ocean, you see their MDs, their key general managers are all foreigners, and they are paid in foreign currency, dollars, $5,000 and the rest. So if a Gambian citizen should have those amount of money, he's going to spend the money back in the Gambia, and that's going to circulate. So, I mean, those are some of the policies that I would want the ministry to help us, especially the young people. Policies that would empower us to tap into some of those bigger opportunities. And yes, the commitment is there, and I've also listened to the plans that the ministry have regarding the migration issues, having a database that can capture employment that have been created, because it's very important. No doubt employments have been created, and no doubt the ministry cannot create direct employment for everyone. There are indirect employment opportunities where the ministry or the government will just level the ground, make the environment conducive for people to register their businesses and then do business and employ other people. So just help us more on the policies, and we will be knocking on your doors. Some of us will be knocking on your doors for policy formulations or for policy to be reviewed that can empower the citizens. And I know you have been very much responsive. That's a personal testimony to some of those things through my interaction with the ministry. So yes, that is what I have to contribute. And thank you, Mr. Jammeh, for once again that wonderful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go
So I
ahead.
think yes, I think some of the issues it depends on a nationalistic orientation. What I mean nationalistic orientation, Indians will support India wherever you are. For example, Chinese will support Chinese wherever you are. And then I guess Gambians should also be able to support Gambians wherever they are. It's not easy to establish a business, and it's not easy to take that business to a certain magnitude. And then these Nigerians or these Indians, sometimes deliberate actions they do. And then you can't, sometimes there is, you cannot put a policy unless you frustrate them through other technical barriers. For example, you can arrange sole distributor with somebody, and then so
Guys, is Mr. Jammeh audible?
Yes, from my end.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Others
audible.
are not.
Sajo,
can
are
you
you
hear
getting
me?
me? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
he
do.
is. He is.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
are getting me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
So sole distribution is acceptable. It's acceptable. So now it depends how you do that. So you are there to protect your business by ensuring that you identify somebody in a particular market to be a sole distributor, and then you send and then to him, and then he sells into that market. That is not something that you can do a policy to counter that. Of course, you can use other technical barriers to frustrate and then ensure that at least it's open. Sometimes they can react and say, okay, then if this is the case, let me move to Senegal, let me move to Ghana. So that is one of the biggest challenge. But the point now is Gambians, we should be able to help Gambians. How do we do that? There are people with resources, they don't have ideas of business. There are people with ideas of business, they don't have resources. How do we pull these two together? There are two people who are in business. Why not you come together? You strengthen your businesses and make it one big business. So a lot of things are there that is left to the private person to take a decision to do or not to do. So of course, we trying to ensure that at least we create a leveling environment to ensure that at least all businesses, because you cannot create an environment and then this business will not take advantage. Of course, whichever environment you create for business development, then every business will thrive on it, irrespective. So what is important is how do we operate as Gambians together to strengthen individuals or to strengthen enterprises to reach that level. For example, if you look at Mohamed Jah, you look at Jah Oil, they can do a similar thing. They can do a stimulation, but they can equally support some of the growing business. But this is why I've said there are efforts at the ministry to support, to provide facilitation for businesses to grow. Like diaper, that's what they do. Entrepreneurship development, investment promotion, that's what they do. So, in essence, to your question, yes, this is something we observe, and then we'll see what kind of technicalities do we put in place. But sometimes it's difficult to say it will not happen. Yeah. So the other part of your question, I lost that one. What was the other part of your question?
Mr. Fati, are you still available?
Okay, no, it wasn't a question. It was just a compliment to
Okay.
the work. I mean, to the level playing ground, making the environment conducive, or creating an environment where um, jobs would be created uh, directly and indirectly. So that was just a compliment. That was not a question. It was a compliment to the work that you're doing. Yeah. So thank you. I've also listened to your response on that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fati. Okay, next I saw Mr. Aliu Job's hand up. Aliu, Mr. Aliu, are you available? If not, we can go ahead with Mr. Jabi. Mr. Jabi, you are welcome. Mr. Jabi. Guys, am I audible?
Louis, that is not Mister. I think she is a woman. That is
Yes,
Jacoba
Jacoba, right?
Jabi. Yeah.
Jacoba
Okay,
Jam.
okay. That's my bad. My bad. Miss Jabi, are you available, please? I'm very sorry for that.
Hello, guys. It's okay. I'm just laughing.
I'm really sorry for that. I'm really
Yeah,
sorry for that.
fine, fine. I don't have a question. I just have a little bit of contribution, if you guys don't mind. Um,
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead. We really
yeah.
appreciate it.
So the honorable speaker talked about Gambia trying to go into digitalization. I know, like Gambia, we are lacking in almost every sector, but we are lacking more when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to technology and digitalization in general. So, for example, you look at the system of job selection of like people when it comes to a particular job. I believe and I think that most of the time is bias and fairness is not even part of it, because most of the time it's not even based on I'm not sure what I'm saying. If I'm wrong, you can correct that. So we have a lot of like digital systems when it comes to job application itself. For example, we have something called tracking devices that the ministries can use this to track resumes that are sent to those ministries for people who are applying for jobs, and then this will ensure that you're not selecting people based on other aspects that are cultural, but like selecting people based on their expertise in that area, in that field. It's gonna be very hard if you put someone that's not an expert in a particular field to work in that field. There will be no level of development in that, and this is really disturbing the Gambia a lot, because you go to ministries, you go to different sectors in the Gambia, and you find people that are not competent. You ask yourself in the first place, how did they get there in the first place? So if we use artificial intelligence in most of these things, because first of all, AI doesn't know anything when it comes to being biased. It doesn't know whether you're related to someone in the ministry or whether you're related to someone holding a higher position in those ministries. It's gonna go for the one with the best resume, with the best CV, or with the best abilities, and then select that. And not only that, like if you look at the educational system of the Gambia itself, I think it's the main reason why we're lacking a lot, because we have a lot of engineers in the Gambia at the end of the day. And like what the other speaker was saying, at the end of the day, you give all those opportunities to foreigners to work in those sectors. It's not fair to Gambians in the first place, because if I am studying something that is hard, I am doing it not only to get the money out of it, but to contribute in certain ways to develop my country. And it's gonna be a huge problem for Gambia to be digitalized because of the cultural misconceptions surrounding it, and the fact that a lot of people will tell you I don't believe in it, and the fact that some people will tell you, oh, transhumanism is gonna happen if we use a lot of AI, if we use a lot of computers, it's gonna take the job that humans have and whatsoever. These are just misconceptions, and I really think that if they open those opportunities and sensitize the Gambians, it's gonna it's gonna change a whole it's gonna change a lot of things in the Gambia. But job applications or like selection of employees in the Gambia is not fair at all, and I hope that's gonna change some. And so like you people can give more opportunities to Gambians rather than giving projects worth millions of dollars to foreigners for them to come and mess it all up. It's actually not fair to Gambians. For the fact that they're the ones voting for those governments to come, they expect those governments to change their lives, either by providing good systems of education or providing good jobs for them. Because at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Thank you very much, Ms. Javi. I will let Mr. Jammeh respond to that.
Yeah, I think is an observation that she made, and then he's entitled to that opinion. And then for me, what we are doing right now as a government is moving towards technology. I've made mention, usually you used to have this paper form, you go pick and then apply for a job, and sometimes somebody inside can give you a tip whether you think you've been shortlisted or not. But now we have a website where you go in and then you fill and then you deposit your documentation. So, but that is the benefit of using technology. And then AI, as you mentioned, of course, we have not fully integrated into that, but I know one day we will be fully integrated into that, and then we will have a system to that. So that is the nature of the labor market. So I have made mention that if you want to be competitive in the labor market, either as a worker or as an employer or an enterprise, of course, you have to run alongside technology. And then if AI is something that is required, of course, you have to go into that. So I know sometimes technology has an initial cost, but eventually, if you want to remain competitive, of course, that is the dimension that you have to take. So I agree with some of the points that he has raised, and then they are a good concern, and then they are a good opinion. So, but Gambia, we are still moving. Might look slow, but for sure, with assurance, we will reach somewhere someday. So that is my own opinion on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. I guess if we continue, we'll stay until tomorrow because we can't get enough of the experience Honorable Jammeh is sharing with us. But I'm really sorry, we have to conclude the webinar today because like we have already spent like more than an hour and it's already late here. And I know Mr. Jammeh is also tired. But I
Yeah,
know
I have
our I know our secretary department, like academic department, they will bring him again. And it will be an honor for him to come again, I guess. Mr. Njai, I'm really sorry. We have to conclude now. Miss Fati, what do we have next on the agenda?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Jammeh, for this insightful discussion we have today. Although I also had a question, but I could not ask due to time constraint. So I guess now the next on the agenda we have the closing remark from our honorable VP, Miss Zainabu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, our distinguished speaker, Mr. Fabba Jammeh, members of the Association of Gambian Students in India, and all the participants here. On behalf of the association, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. Jammeh for sharing his invaluable insights today. Your expertise and advice on mastering skills, identifying the opportunities, and navigating the strategies for employment opportunities in the Gambia have truly been enlightening and motivating. To everyone that joined us, thank you for dedicating your time to this important discussion. As students and future professionals, it is essential to take the knowledge shared here and translate it into actionable steps for your personal growth and also the development of our nation. Let us remain committed to equipping ourselves with the right skills, staying informed about the opportunities, and contributing to the advancement of the Gambia through our hard work and determination. So once again, thank you, Mr. Jambe, for your dedication to empowering youth, Gambian youths, and to everyone here. Let's continue to inspire and support one another in achieving our shared goals. With that, I declare this webinar officially concluded. Wishing you all success in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you very much.
Madam Vice President. I guess, Mr. Jammeh, thank you very much for your time.
Just last words, if any, if possible. I'm not sorry, but still now you can go.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. You want to
I
say
want to
something,
say,
Mr. Mbo?
yeah, let me say this quickly. I'm available each time you need me. Let me just have adequate time to know when to do, what to do, and then let me have a subject matter to deal with, just like the one. But I'm also inspired, and then I'm very much happy to see how you mobilize yourself to respond to this webinar. I also belong to another group. We call it the KDI. I studied in KDI in Korea. I did. That's where I did my masters, and then we have an alumni group. But today is so weak that even to call for a meeting is difficult. But I just want to encourage you. Sometimes, where there is energy, that is the time that you see what is possible to be done, and then you do that. Do it. Time will come, people will feel fatigued, feel fed up with everything. But I appreciate your this invitation, and then I'm available to work with you in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jammeh. So this was the end of the webinar. I guess the meeting is now over.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.